there, this is Amanda from Time Out Scraps, and today we're going to make a little mini journal. So it's closed with a paper clip, and I have 2 journal cards on the covers. A journal card there, and then inside the cover and the back cover there is a tag, a little pocket for a tag. And then there's the back journal card. So these are about 4 inches by 5 and about a 1/4 inch spine on each of them. So let me show you how I made it. I started with some Jane Davenport scrapbook paper, and this is 8 by 9.5. And so I'm going to go ahead and score my spine and where I fold up from the bottom. So I'm going to go in and put my 1/4 inch spine in. So I have 2 scores, 4 inches, a 1/4 inch, and then 4 inches. And then the height is 5 inches, so I scored down that side instead of cut it because I'm going to fold the bottom up to make my pockets. Sorry, I'm off camera a little bit. Still getting used to working in the camera frame. These are 9.5 inches long, so I do have to cut some off. I'm going to fold my pockets up, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut out the center of the pockets. That way it will fold nicely and not have a lot of resistance. So I'm doing that at an angle, so it's free and clear of my spine. Okay, I'm going to take some more scrapbook paper of Jane Davenport and put it in the inside because this is not 2-sided paper. That way it's not white and I don't have to stencil over it. I'm going to just use some of this paper to put behind the pocket and on the inside cover. This will make another pocket for my journal cards as well. So those are the journal cards I made, and they are just watercolor paper, and I used Jane Davenport watercolors because it matched pretty well with the papers. I'm inking all of the papers with walnut stain. And I'm going to do the whole outside of the cover. I realize the pockets are too tall, so I'm just going to slice off a little bit. I don't even measure how much, probably 1/2 inch of the pockets. And I'm going to add a little thumb notch on the pockets. I did both of them at the same time so they're even. It drives me crazy when they're not even. Probably no one would notice. So I'm just inking around the whole outside. And some of the paper, it's pretty dark. It doesn't always show up the ink, but I went ahead and inked it anyways. And I also am going to ink the inside of the spine because I'm not putting paper there. So to cover up that white spot. There we go. And now we'll glue in the paper to make our pockets for our journal cards. So I'm going to glue on 3 sides. Hope you're all having a wonderful weekend. It's really hot here, so it's nice to stay in and craft. Alright, so get my glue going. Oh, every time I leave the pin out of my glue, it always clogs up a little, so I've got to stop doing that. So I line that up perfectly. Remember that outside edge has no glue, that way it'll be a nice little pocket for my journal card. Let's glue down the other side. And we'll glue those pockets just a little glue on each end of the pocket. And sometimes I needed to trim off a little bit because it didn't fold up nicely. Just trim off that overhang. Now our cover is made. It's my little template, so I know how to punch holes. I have a big one and a small one, so I'm using my small one. So I just line it up where I want my holes. And then I'm going to use my We Are Memory Keepers punch, the smallest punch, to punch where I marked. So I'll have my holes. There they are. And then I'm going to do the same thing to my paper. First I need to cut my paper. I'm just using drawing paper for the inside. I've got it off Amazon. It's a nice beige color, so I don't have to use all my coffee dyed paper up on every little journal that I make. So I'm going to do about a little less than 5 inches, a 1/4 inch less tall for my pages. So I can get, I'm doing 3 big pages, and I'm going to get 6 pages folded in half to make 12. So I'm going to fold that in half, and it's still a little too wide for my journal because I want it to fit all the way inside. So I'm going to trim off the open edge. I'm just looking to see how much. I don't always measure everything. That's why I use the journal I'm making to bring up the measurements, because it's kind of annoying to measure every little thing. It's a little too thick for my paper cutter, so I'm just going to trim that last page off. And then we're ready to use our template again on the papers. The same template, make sure I always write top on the top, because sometimes it might not be exact, and that way I have the right direction for when I sew and match up my holes. I use a big paper clip to hold my pages together. Use the punch again. Let's punch our holes. Then I'll line up my papers within my little mini journal. And I'm going to use some wax thread to sew it in. I'm going to use about 3 times the height of my journal. I have a big needle. It goes in really nicely with the wax thread. I'm going to start in the center. And hopefully I move back up to the screen. I think my daughter came in at this moment and was talking to me, so I forgot I was filming. Went back to show you now. She had to tell me all about her visit to the mall. I'm just going to pamphlet stitch this in. The nice thing about wax thread is really easy to pull it tight and just to tie it in. Then I'm going to add some beads to the end. I always do that to my journals. Makes them hang down to the bottom nicely, but they're so small it takes a minute to get them tied on. And we'll trim the extra on the strings. And we have our journal pretty much made. I'm going to use some cheesecloth and put a little sentiment on the outside for my decoration. We're going to keep it pretty simple. So I already pre-cut out some sentiments on my Cricut. Just going to ink one up. And we'll see about this cheesecloth. I'm having a few extra pieces that are already cut off I'm trying to use up, but I kind of want to cover the whole outside of the sentiment, so I'm going to even up these pieces and we'll glue it onto the back. There we go, 2 pieces will work. And instead of my art glitter glue, I'm going to use my blue aqua glue. I think it's Tombow brand. I like that when I have something thicker or a little bit of cheesecloth. If I'm going through cheesecloth and I need it to adhere, I'll use that aqua. It works really good. That way I don't feel like I have to use so much art glitter glue. Press that down, and I'm going to trim off a little bit of extra cheesecloth. Make sure it looks nice and messy. Alright, we have our basic journal made. I have the art journal cards that I just washed watercolor, different colors all the way up and down. They're a little too tall because it's a tight fit. I was pretty sure they're both a little too tight, which is a bummer because I already inked them up. I probably shouldn't have done that until I had the journals made, but that's okay. We can chop off a little bit with a paper trimmer. Making sure it's level. I thought it moved a little, so I'm just trying to make sure they're all evened out. And then I'll use my Distress ink to re-ink that side that I cut up. I also have some tabs that I cut a whole bunch of these in bulk, so I'm going to add some tabs. That way it can easily be pulled out of the pocket. And I left the backs plain so they'd have plenty of space to journal. And I wanted the journal cards to be the colorful side towards the inside of the journal. That way when you open the journal and you pull out the journal cards, you're seeing the pretty colorful part. And whoever gets the journal can add whatever they want to the outside of the journal card. And going to go ahead and add a paper clip. Oh, no, my tags first. So here's some tags that I have pre-made. These are made with alcohol ink on the jelly plate, and then I also use some embossing, no, not embossing powder, it was glitter texture paste and a stencil. So that was super fun. I have a bunch of resin beads I already have made up, so I'm going to choose one to add to my paper clip for a little dangle. That color looks pretty good with it. So I'm just going to already have the jump ring in it, so I'm going to add it to the end of my paper clip so it dangles off. And here's the ones I have made. All right, I hope you have fun. If you make one, I'd love to see it.
Blue dew, bad mood, sort of witty and jaded, but let's not talk about you. Your coyote song on a rerun. Are you hound dog tired singing all night long? Who's gonna save you? Who's gonna make you not blue? Not blue. Not blue dew, blue moon, been one or two since I ran into you.